Welcome to the Old Fashioned Three. They've been around basketball from the Big Dipper to the Greek Freak, from Russell Celtics to Curry's Warriors, from Peach Baskets to Paolo Banchero. Here are Whitey Gleason, Phantom, and Jerry Reynolds.
Yes, that was that cat, all right.
It's so we're getting a little slap back here, Stud. It is so hot today. We may have to go shirts and skins, Jer. I mean, what do you think? No?
No, this shirt never comes off. My body. I can't. I think I even take a bath in the shirt. You know.
Really?
There's a show. Let's
yeah.
do that show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you guys been? It's been a while.
It has been a while.
Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jones McCoy, incredible
Yeah.
engineer.
Yeah.
Hey, give him 20 seconds. He can take care of any problem that
Right.
he's created.
Right.
No, it's been great. We missed the show last week.
I know.
Kind of Tuesday at 10, I'm starting to spout stuff out. And
I still did a show with my dog. We did
Yeah.
a practice. Me and Moby did a practice pod.
Well, you guys out gallivanting around on vacation.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah,
that's right.
I was available for work. I was available. You know.
Uh-huh.
I have my priorities. You know. But that's okay. You know.
not a. Well, here we are.
You're putting family and everything and
Yes,
vacations
ahead of the
ahead
show.
Ahead of the show.
For 1 week, I thought it would be okay. And speaking of family, I just want to start by thanking Jerry's wife, Jerry's son, who came to my defense after the last pod we did, and they pointed out that you guys were mean-spirited, and you picked on me, and I appreciate that. I'm glad someone noticed that. And I try to just go on. I don't complain about it. I do my job here. I'm setting you guys up, trying to be the point guard.
Yeah.
You don't appreciate where I give you the ball, whatever. So thank you to Mrs. Reynolds and to your son.
Yeah, my son Jay, and
Yeah.
it was kind of, I think, and I don't know the reasoning behind it, but they both really enjoyed the show. So I think actually the fact that they said that, they felt like they had to come back with some sort of a slap.
Oh,
yes,
I
I
see.
see that.
At-
Yeah.
and
I
actually,
understand that.
sadly,
Yeah.
sadly,
Yeah.
threw an innocent
Yeah.
victim, Phantom, into the
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
fray, and basically that we were picking on you.
Yeah, if they
And
thought that was picking, Jerry, they have never seen picking. I
No,
mean,
no.
come on, that was just like a dabble right there.
Well, that's what I
Yeah.
told. They said, you're picking on Whitey. And I said, you can't pick on Whitey
No.
too much.
Bring it.
Bring it.
it.
He's tough. He's
The institution.
mentally,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
mentally
Oh,
tough.
physically, mentally, he's in there all the time.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, yeah. You can't pierce that armor, not at all.
I will say this. It started last week. Jerry was kind of making fun of my shirt, which I understand, back-to-back Pacific Division champion shirt.
Sure.
Today he already has said nice things about my
Yeah.
Oakland Oaks.
That's tremendous. Yeah.
ABA T-shirt. People see this thing, oh, you're an A's fan. It's like, no. I mean, yeah.
Yes,
but
you are
that's-
a little bit, yeah,
Not an
yeah.
A's shirt. Oakland Oaks, baby.
Yeah, that really takes me back because, like I say, I saw him play a preseason game at Vincennes, Indiana High School. The Oakland Oaks and Dallas Chaparral.
Dallas Chaparrals.
Yeah.
Wow.
And-
Was Donnie
Powell.
Freeman on the Chaparrals at that time?
Yeah, I think he was. And
How about Cincy Powell?
Beasley, there was
There was a various Beasley out there.
Beasley,
Yeah,
yeah.
there have been
Yeah.
Beasleys all
Terry
through history.
Beasley, I think?
Nah,
I'm
I
not-
can't
John
remember.
Beasley?
Charlie Beasley, maybe.
Oh, I like that name though, Charlie
Yeah, I'll have to
Beasley.
look that
yeah,
up.
Yeah.
yeah. It seemed like Daryl Carrier.
Oh, yeah.
was
He used to shoot
with
a lot of
them for a
threes.
while. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he later joined the Colonels.
Yeah.
Western Kentucky guy.
He would let him fly, fan.
Yeah,
Let that
yeah.
three
Yeah, I
fly.
used to watch the Oakland Oaks on TV.
But
down
the
in Bay
reason,
Area, yeah.
but Rick Barry was with the Oaks
Mhm.
at that time, and then one of his big benefactors was from Vincennes, Indiana, Robert Green, a multimillionaire that was tied in with the University of Miami, and so that was kind of why they played the game there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, they won a
anyway,
championship. They won one of the,
Yeah.
I think the second championship of
Yeah,
the
I
ABA.
think so.
Yeah.
They
Yeah, because Rick Barry was supposed to play the first year of the ABA, but he got involved in the court case, had to sit out a year, and then so he didn't come on till the second year. That's why the Pittsburgh Pipers won the first.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
Pittsburgh
Connie Hawkins,
ABA.
Phantoms guy.
Yeah, that's right. I had to put that
Yeah.
in there, certainly.
Yeah. So-
Absolutely.
Not a ton has happened since we last got together. I know we were talking about Donovan Mitchell and his shortcomings, and since we did the last pod, of course, he's now a member of the Cleveland Cavaliers. So who do you think won that trade, Jer? Danny Ainge? I think Danny Ainge could get like 3 unprotected number ones for an old Ostertag jersey. Am I right? I mean,
I tell you what, I think both teams did well. I think Mitchell's got good fit there. I mean, because but Danny, I thought, getting Laurie Marketing, who is a player,
yeah.
been a little bit underwhelming
Right.
at times, but certainly he's a player as a stretch four.
The finish.
and then
what,
course,
is the finish.
course Sexton,
Flash?
Finish man.
Okay.
The finish man.
finish
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
And then of course Sexton is a heck of a player, a scorer. So he's a nice young player that they can use probably going forward, I would think. So, and plus the picks, of course. But I thought Danny did well, and I think the Cavaliers did well because when you look at it, okay, they got Allen, they got Mobley, Kevin Love will probably start, who still can play at a high level.
I love Mobley,
and then
by the way.
Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. That's a pretty nice
Yeah,
starting
and
five.
they have Okoro also, yeah. So I think that
Okoro
definitely, you
and-
look at them right now after they make that deal, and getting rid of Sexton is like addition by subtraction because I don't think that was working.
He wasn't gonna-
Although Sexton's a good player, so he'll be good at Utah. But I think they're probably, you look at them right now, they're a 45-win team right there. So you wonder, how high those draft choices are going to be. But like you say, I don't even think the draft choices matter as far as players. I think with Danny Ainge, the draft choices are now just chips. He's going to use those chips and turn them on to something else if he's not going to get good draft choices. So I agree with you. I think both teams did improve, but you look at Cleveland, and I think right now you just look at them before they add any other pieces, and they're 45 wins right now.
I think they need more than Donovan Mitchell can bring them, though. I think he's a good player. He's a good on-ball scorer, as we discussed last time. But I stink. I think
Not with
they're-
that shirt, you don't. No.
I think they're still looking for that guy who can be that next level player, and I don't think he's that. I think they'll be better, but I don't know. To me, Utah won that trade, but both teams can feel good about it. I just don't think Mitchell's good enough to be the guy Cleveland hopes he'll be.
Well, I think the only, and I wouldn't disagree, except that I think Mobley and could be.
Yeah,
You may have that guy.
gotcha.
Right there, and then Garland isn't too far behind. I mean,
Right.
I'm not all sure Donovan Mitchell's not their third best player right now.
Okay.
And that's a nice
And that's
recipe right
and
there.
if that's
'Cause
true,
you do. You have Mobley and you have Allen to protect the rim.
Yeah.
And you've got Garland, who was an all-star as well. So, yeah, you do have established talent. So, basically, you have 3 all-stars now in Mobley, who's an up-and-comer. So, Okoro is a good young player, and then you've got a couple of guys coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Too bad you don't have Markin anymore. He'd fit right in right there. But I really do think that they're set right now. They're contending for get to the second round of the playoffs with what they have right now.
yeah, Seti Osman, he's a good
Yes.
good reserve, and no, I like it. But I get what you're saying. I mean, you don't know for sure on Mobley, but there's a reason you could make that leap.
Yeah.
From what he did as a
Yeah,
rookie,
very
that he
impressive.
could be one of the elite players in this league in a few years.
Mr. Basketball, Seti Osman, Marie Osman, Donnie Osman. Which way you go?
Well, I've got to go back to the old hormones and go Marie, I guess,
Here's what Donovan Mitchell's going to miss about playing on the Jazz. Gobert led the league in screen assists, I think. And I think
Okay, if he's going to bring that to the table, Jerry,
No,
do we start picking on him right now?
Yeah, I think
we do.
so.
With apologies to Mrs. Reynolds and young Reynolds.
this is true. This is what
No,
their
this
coach.
I think they'll turn on him on this one.
Screen assist. That's where they draw the line.
I think they'll
okay,
say
draw
no.
on the line.
Yeah,
Sure. Please explain, sir.
Their coach pointed out last year, hey, Gobert, people don't realize he leads the league in screen assists every year, which
So that means they record them. If he leads the league, they have to keep track of them.
I'm saying this, kind of half kiddingly, but it is true. I mean, they point this out. Decent. Their coach almost called him D. Snyder. Their coach last year.
We're not going to take that.
We're not going to take that. I know.
No.
He pointed out, hey, look, Gobert led the league in screen assists. So some would say that's a thing. It's just
Some would
measuring.
say.
He frees up.
We have a coach
Quinn
right here.
Snyder, yeah.
We have a coach right here. Would
Freed
he
up,
say that?
You free up the shooter. He makes a basket. Wow, you get a screen assist.
Well, you get an assist, and you get an assist. No, come on.
Turns
Jerry,
out Jerry's not a big believer. in
Jerry,
the
come on.
Screen
Help me
assist.
here.
It's a stretch. It's a real stretch.
It's not my
Okay, there you go.
agree.
I mean, one of
It's
the
not my thing.
Well, one of
Okay,
the
not
reasons
dying on that hill.
I
Okay.
was just thinking on this. So one of the reasons he'd probably be pretty good at that because he's not really likely to get to score off of that screen like a lot of big guys. you know.
Yeah.
So he is going to screen to where the guy scores himself,
Mm-hmm.
whoever he's screening for.
So the roll is taken away.
So
The screen and roll
there's
is not
a-
the screen. It's the
no,
screen,
it's-
but there ain't no roll here.
It's a lot.
It's a screen and assist.
Well, let's put it this way: there may be a roll, but there will be no pick and pop.
no, there'll be no.
There'll
pick
be
and pop.
zero picks
No.
and pops.
Speaking of the Gobert trade, ESPN just had their annual survey of GMs, And we know way more about basketball than the GMs. And you, of course,
Yeah,
used to
I
be
think
one.
so. I
Oh,
think
no
so.
question.
Yeah,
That's pretty fair.
So
to
these
say.
GMs were asked which team had the worst off season, and obviously we got some pizza left in the box here. Mavericks got the most votes. Charlotte, Brooklyn. So it goes Dallas 6 votes, Charlotte 3, Brooklyn 2, Denver 1, Lakers 1, Timberwolves got 1 vote, and Portland got 1. Timberwolves got 1 vote from one executive who says they just gave up way too much to get Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
They probably did. But I don't know. I mean,
I
that
think-
means they had the worst. At least they're trying to do something.
Yeah, I thought they gave up too much, but it's also true is hey, they're going for this year,
Yeah.
and so if you're going to say, well, they gave up too much, well, yeah, in 3 years you say, oh boy, they
Right.
gave up too much. But if in fact they get to the Western Finals, then you wouldn't say that. I don't think they
And
will.
you
but,
don't know
but-
how many screen assists Gobert's going to add.
And I mean,
and
you
that's
know,
something that
well-
Minnesota. If I'm right, Jerry, I checked my stats. They were very low in essays last year.
They
If
probably
get
had
some more-
zero, yeah,
they
they
probably had
probably
no
had zero.
screen assists because Towns doesn't do that. That's the
I'm
thing.
gonna- I'm
I mean,
gonna
that's
look this
the
up.
that's the
I know.
weakness. That's a weakness in his game.
Well,
as far
see,
as
a
I'm
lot
concerned.
of guys don't obviously don't want to set good screens because they want to get the ball.
'Cause they want the
back themselves. I mean, so I understand that, but I mean, certainly Gobert probably is good at it, and with with that young team and they've got some besides Towns. They've got
Yeah.
with Ant.
You get Edwards out.
Edwards. I mean,
Yeah.
that guy. He might create more problems even than Donovan Mitchell did offensively.
Yeah, because he's just, I'm going to dominate you.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
He's got that
whatever
mindset.
it takes.
Yeah.
How about the Mavericks as a team that had the worst offseason because they lost Brunson and they brought in, Christian Woods. Yeah.
Christian Wood.
Yeah, Christian Wood. And let's see, they got JaVale McGee. Yeah, Christian
It
Wood.
doesn't factor. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought Dallas kind of overachieved last year. I don't think they really were as good as it looked like they were getting to the Western Conference Finals. I think Luka's overrated a little bit. He's a fine player, but he's just so ball dominant. Yeah, so I would agree with that. Dallas worst off, although all of a sudden Boston's offseason's not looking great with Gallinari getting hurt.
Yeah, I don't know about the whole thing about evaluating Luka as overrated. I just like I say he's ball dominant, but in ball dominant, this is a ball dominant society that we're living in. So maybe he's properly rated. But I think the whole Brunson thing, it's going to be either Dallas let him go or the Knicks got him and paid way too much for him. So we just have to see how that plays out.
Well, Brunson's really good, and he was very important to Dallas, but I think they did get a little bit of help. Certainly Wood, I think, will have probably flourish there. JaVale McGee has been a valuable contributor on a lot of winners as well as champions.
Did you coach his mom?
No, but I was general manager. That basically
The Monarchs?
traded her.
Oh, okay.
Traded her.
So maybe, maybe we don't talk about that. Yeah,
traded her.
So you got her out of town, basically.
Got her
Yeah,
out of
okay.
town.
The McGee's are leaving town. All right.
Pam McGee, who was a very excellent college player, a legendary college player, but probably the time they started the WNB at that time, she was already kind of past her prime. And I had
Kind of like him when we started this podcast.
Kind of like me back in the. See now, where's your wife on that one? Where's your kid on that one? Huh? Wow.
just a little self-defense.
No, that's okay. No, you can handle it. No problem. No, you're fine.
Well,
Yeah, you
I
can
mean,
take it.
of course, the tough part here, and no disrespect, I don't think you could take it this way, but prime, there was a
Yeah,
prime.
yeah.
Oh,
See, the thing, I have a fluctuating prime. Is what I call it. Yeah, that's what,
Yeah.
that's what the doctors call it.
yeah.
All right, I think I got some information here. Is this on Screen Assist you sent me? Yeah, you guys want some info?
There's
on,
information on screen assist.
Oh, absolutely. I'm
Okay,
telling you,
yeah.
it's a real thing here.
I'm literally on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, let's see. Screen Assist. So was it Bam Adebayo 3.6, Valanciunas 3.2, Dwight Powell 3. Where's Gobert? Is he?
Yeah, I
where
thought
is he even
Gobert
on
led the
there?
league.
Yeah, let's see.
Maybe he's so far above 3.6, he's out of the frame.
Draymond Green.
Yeah.
2.8 screen
Joe
assist.
Klein, I think, would have been tremendous.
Carl Anthony Towns 2.3 screen
Oh, so I
assists.
slandered
Yeah.
him, and I apologize, Mr.
Yeah,
Towns.
how about that?
I didn't hear Gobert's name.
Yeah, maybe that's not the whole list. I got to.
Oh, yeah,
check.
okay.
But see, the point is that it's an actual thing that people keep track of. Whether it should be or not,
Yeah,
that's a
okay,
different debate.
well.
I'm just saying I didn't make it up. It's a
When you have-
real thing.
When
in
you
the
have
view of
15
many.
coaches and 17 assistants, they have to keep track of something. So I'm glad they're doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Who did you have that was a good screen setter? And don't you think Steph Curry, by the way, is a better screen setter than he gets credit for because he does so many other things? He's a pretty good screen setter.
Well, he's good at everything.
Yeah.
I mean, for a small guy, and that's a skill, for small guys too. screen the screener type stuff. But that's one thing the Kings really have had is some really good screen assist guys.
Yeah, we didn't call them that
we
back
didn't
in the
know
day.
that. We were just
Joe,
calling it
yeah.
screen job. But LaSalle Thompson was terrific.
Yeah.
Joe Klein was good. So we've had some big guys that were good at that. Certainly. And,
Mark
and
Mark Olberding.
Mark Oberding, when he screens you stayed screened.
That's what you want, right?
Yes.
That's what you
Yeah,
want.
no, I was
Freeing up
gonna-
Eddie.
Well, I was going to say that was one of those things where Mark, late in the game, if you needed Eddie Johnson open, he'll get Eddie Johnson open. Now the guy that he gets screens might look like Beetle Bailey, all in a clump.
Go Beetle Bailey, that guy, Mark. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd kabong him, and that'd take care of that. But you'd get your shooter
Get
open.
your shooter open.
No, refs, they knew it then. It's like that's the way it is. You don't call an illegal screen just because it's illegal.
That has to be aggravating
That's
as
a
a
great
coach.
description.
No,
of it.
absolutely.
No,
because
that's
it's not whether the screen's illegal or not quite often. Isn't it just whether the official feels like, yeah, it's a good time for me to call that.
Well,
right?
and it's a tough one to call.
Yeah.
I mean, they call more of them now, and as they should because they are illegal.
Yeah.
But most of the time, it's not the screener's fault; it's the dribbler's fault because they don't let the screener get set. They
never-
it's
I know.
such a rush to get over there and get a shot. Here, your screener, let him get set. You want your defender. I want you to see the screen.
Yeah.
That's the idea of the screen.
Right,
But
right.
no, they just take off.
Right.
And then the screener's moving, and that's an illegal screen.
That's bizarre to me because as you play, high school, you learn that. Let the screener get set, and at the highest level, so often players it's like, no, I don't care.
I always remember
Bizarre.
the Game 5 shot of Mike Bibby.
Yes.
Chris Webber set the most illegal screen probably ever set.
Right.
I mean, he moved 2 or 3 feet.
At the time of contact.
Yeah,
yes.
he just kept moving until he got the guy. But they weren't going to call it then.
Right, that's
And-
contact, right? Like, yeah,
like an
yeah,
offensive lineman
yeah.
moving over to pick up a
But
block. Yeah.
but I was nervous because I saw that it's clearly
Yeah.
illegal, and I said, the way things had been
Things
called,
had gone, and they
that
would
I
soon
said
to get
that-
worse. Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't. If
Maybe
I'd have
that's
known,
why.
if I'd have
Yes.
known then what I knew later,
They
I
kinda
would have
evened it
really
out. Yeah.
anticipated.
In the next game, they had a meeting. Look, we let them get away with this at the end
So,
of Game 5. So Game 6, hello.
Yeah, we let them get by with one. So let's multiply that by 20 and
Yeah.
make it even.
And call it even, right?
Yeah.
Because it's L.A., Sacramento, certainly.
Yeah, where you got Kobe taking a golf club to the back of Mike
Yes.
Bibby's head in Game
Yes.
6. That's
Hey,
a play on.
That's payback. Make good. That's a
That's
make
a play
good.
on.
Yeah.
yeah, no harm, no foul, man.
Yeah,
It's-
absolutely.
It's just a facial injury.
It's just a head injury, isn't it? It'll bleed because it's a head injury, but
Yeah.
it's not really that serious.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the bloody nose that Mike Bibby got Game 6? And didn't they call a foul on him?
Yes.
Yeah.
He bled on somebody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, my God, it could have hurt Kobe's elbow.
And that would have been a flagrant 2 on
Yeah.
Bibby. Yeah, if you hurt Kobe's
And
elbow.
had thrown him out on that side. My
Yeah.
God, you can't hurt Kobe's
He's lucky
elbow.
he stayed in the game.
What is the official signal for a bleeding foul? Bleeding,
Yes,
number
it's-
10. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
No, you just
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bleeding.
Yeah,
number 10.
yeah.
The Kings, by the way, Jer, they got one vote here by an opposing Western Conference assistant coach for one of the most improved teams of the offseason.
There you
What do
go.
Think of that.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they did good things. I do. I mean, I've said that. Anybody wants to ask, I don't know how it's going to play out, but I think, okay, coaching change looks like a reason to be some optimism there. So Malik Monk, Kevin Herter, certainly good players, should be good fits with this team. And then, of course, the draft pick, Keegan Murray, was outstanding in Summer League, and I think a perfect fit going forward with this team. And you got reason to believe and reason to hope that Sabonis and Fox can really have outstanding years now. So should they be better? Absolutely should be better. How much better? That's where the rubber hits the road. You know.
Fans would be pleased with just a little bit better, right? It's just as long as they're clearly better, I think a lot of fans would be like,
Improvement,
I'm good with that.
I mean, I don't think so. I
No.
think the people, I mean, like me probably would, but I think the people actually paying the freight, that's paying buying those tickets, expensive
Yeah,
fees.
the ones who are buying.
They really, and probably ownership group, they're expecting certainly a play in at the least,
Yeah.
if not play off. And I think, And should they make the play-in? Yeah, they got a great chance. I mean, I think between the Lakers and Portland and them, those three are fighting for 2 spots. So.
Mr. Basketball, this coach or assistant coach, I'll do it in my Stones voice. He says, I think they've made enough additions where I think they have a legitimate chance to make the playoffs.
I thought it was James Bond. I didn't know what was going on. Yeah, I think so. When you're a Kings fan, you look up and Jerry said Malik Monk and Kevin Herter and Bradley, who as soon as he was picked, as soon as everybody got over the shock that they picked him, everybody fell in love with the guy right away. And obviously, he knows how to play. We can see that from summer league. It doesn't mean he's going to do that against the real people, but still, he knows how to play. So I think there is room for optimism there. As far as Herter and Monk are known commodities, we always talk about Kings need shooters. Well, now they've got him, and they've got another guy, a rookie who's pretty experienced coming in who can do a lot of different things. So I do see some reason for optimism, but I agree with Jerry. Making the play-in, but also advancing from the play-in. I think you got to get to the real dance this time as far as – because you're talking about 16 years in a row. I think it's time you've got to go ahead.
I agree with you. I think if they got in the play-in, I think that'd be enough for a lot of fans to go, okay. But I agree with you. I think, how could you be so bad for so long?
See, you don't want to even think about it. Let's just, hey, this year's going to be great.
Yeah, well, the problem I've got is just with me is that I pretty much said this last year.
Yeah, okay.
I like what they've done. They got a better team. They got a better roster. I think they'll be a lot better than they weren't. And in fact, it went backwards a little bit. So, but having said that, I'm going to say it again because I think, injuries are such a key. As I hurt my ear here.
That's good.
But the injury.
Injury. I'll be out 2 games.
No,
right
we
there.
need you next
Should
Tuesday.
have load managed him better.
Maybe we should have left him out another week.
Yeah.
Maybe give him 2 weeks in the middle of the season. Yeah.
No, I can go.
Come on, coach, I can go.
You got 2 years. You're at one.
Just switch it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you put me there, coach. I'll give you what I got.
Uh-huh.
Ain't much, but I'll give it to you.
We might need more.
No, but I think this team should be fun to watch. I mean, the thing that we all complained about, didn't have enough shooting, not good enough defensively.
Yes.
And
That's
and
it.
we still don't know about that.
Right.
Although I think, Herter and Monk are probably able to help a little bit, but it comes down to, again, Fox is the key. Fox has really got to come out of the gate well, I think.
He's got to prove that he's close to the player the Kings thought he would be when they got him, right?
Yes.
Something close to that.
Something
he had
very close.
Glimpses last year towards the end of the year, but it's got to be something you do over the whole
It's a
season.
stars league, so he's got to prove he's a star, right? Ultimately, and then also Sabonis as well, but specifically him.
Yeah, I think it's that simple. Fox needs to be the player that he usually is in March and April. Needs to be that in October, November, December. Get out of the gate early and establish that you're going to have a big-time year and lead the team to some wins. That's
Make an all-star team.
Make an all-star team.
Shouldn't he be better than he is defensively? Doesn't he have the skills to be a better defensive player?
I think he could be terrific. I really do. Athletically, he's long. He's super fast and quick. And usually,
good combination.
Good
defensively.
combination.
Yeah.
You see a guy like Mitchell who's great. Well, he athletically, he really doesn't have the gifts that the Fox has. He's a tenacious little bulldog. I'll give him that. But he is. So and answer your question, he should be better, and he can be better. And if Mike Brown, that's his biggest challenge is to make sure that he is better.
Go ahead.
How do you take a guy who's puts in like Mitchell?
Are you asking
Fox?
him or me?
Well, I was thinking of asking you, but I don't want to.
Okay. All right,
I don't wanna
fine.
feed the ego.
Yeah.
You take a guy who gives so much on the offensive end, and maybe the tendency would be to rest a little bit on the defense. How do you go ahead and get somebody out of that?
Well, I think the big thing, and I've always said it, the biggest problem in the league is that most head coaches, they'll talk about defense, and you have defensive assistant coaches and all that. But the guy who puts people in games and takes them out of games, that's the head coach.
Okay.
And so until players know they'll be taken out of games because of defense, nothing's going to change. Okay? There has to be.
So status quo is if you score, you're going to stay in.
And I think that's one of the things I think when you see teams that kind of made changes, and I think Udoka, certainly Eric Spoelstra team, that
Yeah.
defense is one of the ways they substitute
Yeah.
to
And
improve.
yeah.
To improve what's going on in the court or who plays and all that is that. And I think that's where it has to start. You know, I mean, if you
I agree with him, by the way.
I was going to ask you next, but I guess
No, I think we saw that last year, for example, with Kuminga and the Warriors. And Kuminga's a young player, and fans are so excited about all his athletic gifts. But there's times when he would make mistakes defensively that, you know, for a team that's trying to win a championship, it's like, you got to sit down. We just can't.
we can't have you out there.
Yeah, you can't keep making those mistakes.
It did seem like even late in the year, to me at least, that in places where he could have played Kuminga or Moody, a lot of times he'd go with Moody.
Yeah.
And I get it because Moody was more okay. He's going to stay
Yep.
in his lane.
Yep.
And going to try to play defense better and more consistently. And so for when you made perfect sense.
Yeah, I know it's cliche, but so much of it is attitude, right? And you know better than we do. Some guys just have that. They're determined. They want to play defense, which I think is maybe one of the hardest things to do in sports. You know, well, what's the hardest thing to do in sports? People say, oh, hitting a baseball. Guarding someone in basketball,
Especially
one-on-one.
now. Yeah, especially
Yeah.
now.
And so if you don't have the stomach for it, you're just not that interested, you have no chance because it's so hard.
Yeah, it is one of those things where certain guys early on in their careers, I think, hey, I can be outstanding this area. Of course, the greatest Bill Russell will be there, and of course Rudy Gobert, not just assisted screens,
He's huge
but
there.
really
though,
good at
Jerry.
that, too,
Don't
though.
overlook that, though, Jerry.
but protecting the basket, and has carved out a tremendous niche for himself, and that's great. Patrick Beverly, would he be in the league if it wasn't for that kind of reputation type thing? And so. Yeah, I think that's pretty wise. The trick is to get the guys who basically have been so good offensively.
Yeah, they never have to worry about it.
They that they're going to stay on the floor regardless for the most part, or and some star type guys, whether it's Magic or Larry, probably weren't good, really outstanding individual, but they were great team defenders. People forget that, because of their instincts and intelligence of how they played, and of course Michael and LeBron just at their best were the best individual defenders as well as the best offensive players.
That's the thing about Jordan. Like, he did it at both ends at
Yeah.
an extremely high level.
Yeah, well, with Larry and Magic, Magic had Michael Cooper and Larry had Dennis Johnson, so they had guys on the team. But like a Kawhi Leonard is, when he's on the floor, is a guy who's elite at both ends of the floor. And even just watching games, just sitting there watching, he stands out. A guy like that who's doing it on both ends of the floor, he really stands out.
That's a great. I don't. It's one of those things. Kawhi, we almost forgot about.
Yeah, exactly.
But at his best, he's close to that caliber of guy. To where he's close to being the best all-around player in the world,
and that's,
if not. And Adetokounmpo comes to mind.
Absolutely.
He plays both ends and really impacts the game on both ends. And you just. There's not a lot that gets when you get to that level, boy, it's a smaller and smaller group. Yeah.
Kobe wasn't a bad defender, was he? Because
terrific
he was
defender.
determined
terrific
to do
because
it.
he wanted to get the ball, so he'd go down and shoot it.
But he was.
He couldn't shoot it without it, so he had to go get it.
I always thought that. He was a terrific defender. I thought. But I think it had a lot to do with just his, Mamba mentality and the Jordan thing. Everything.
Jordan, yeah.
That was his idol, and who he wanted to be, and he came pretty close to being that, and so he was a terrific defender, in my mind.
That's why I eventually had to shift my view of Kobe, because I always considered him from that really made an impression on me when his first All-Star game, when Karl Malone goes to set a screen, obviously looking for the screen assist.
Right.
And Kobe's like, yeah, get out of my way. I'm like, who do you think you are?
Yeah, you don't do
And
that.
I always thought that guy is just so selfish, and he just shoots and shoots and shoots. But defense to me is the most selfless thing you can do on a basketball floor, because there's not a lot of stats for it. So if you're a good defender, that is about team. And Kobe was a great team defender and a great individual defender. So I had to kind of reassess what I thought of him in terms of being a selfish player.
No, really, I think he's a winning player.
Yeah.
Certainly, and part of that was he would gladly take tough shots because he thought he was better at that and a better chance for his team to win. Him taking tough shots and other guys taking easy shots, and he's probably right.
Yeah.
sometimes it's
In
like,
many
Joe
cases.
Fiducial's open, but he's not going to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Fiducial out of college, by the way. I have to be
he
honest.
had a chance.
I thought Fiducial had a chance in the
He
big
had a
leagues.
chance,
I don't
but
know.
couldn't
I mean,
make.
he
But
had that hamstring
crunch
early.
time, he wasn't there for you.
No. Oh, he was there. I just didn't want to throw it to him.
Yeah.
He couldn't make
Yeah.
Fiducial. Come on.
There's
Yeah.
brother Bobby Fiducial. What a waste.
No,
he
but
was.
there is a lot. I mean, and
Attitude.
you saw that with Jordan too. I mean, he knew he could trust Kerr. He could trust Paxson. Certain guys in key situations. If he was going to get doubled, but he wasn't going to throw it to Bill Winnington for the big shot.
No. Well, I mean, that's his
Not
loss,
saying Bill
obviously.
couldn't make it, but I mean he. That's just what
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
But those guys, he trusted him. They had to prove themselves to him, right?
Oh, sure.
He had to go, okay, I'm going to reserve judgment on Kerr or on Paxson until you do it a couple of times. Then you earn my trust. But it's a process.
Of course. And well, that's what it should be. But Kobe, he was. All I know is, boy, he won 5 championships, and
Yes,
he did.
Yeah.
and he was if not the best player on all 5, he was no worse than second
Yeah, top
on
2.
1 or 2.
Yeah.
Mhm. Remember how when the Kings would play the Lakers when they were both, vying for the conference championship and a trip to the finals, and the games were
Division
officiated
title, yeah.
differently depending on where they were played. And in Sacramento, Shaq would get in foul trouble almost invariably.
Every time.
Then he would foul out, and everybody would be going crazy, and you could almost see Kobe's like, all right.
Yeah, I
here
remember
we
you
go."
talking about that at the time.
Licking
going,
his chops.
That's
He'd be
not
like,
what you
Kobe
wanna
sucks.
do.
Like, shut up. You don't understand.
You
do
not
Feeds
know.
off of it. Yeah.
He's got what he wanted. He was telling the ref to call the fouls on Shaq so he would be out of the game.
He's almost like, oh, boy, now it's me time.
He was behind Shaq pushing him into people. Yeah. Yeah, he obviously rose to that occasion because, he set that up for himself. So I agree with you as far as a situation where he was a guy,
Keep track
a pressure
of the times
player.
you agree with me,
Yeah.
'cause they're
Well, I
few
put
and
him,
far between.
put him right next to screen assists, okay?
But you really saw how great he was, or at least for me to realize how truly great among the absolute all-time greats was when he won with Pau Gasol as a side and Pau
Andrew Byram. Yeah.
And Lamar.
Bynum.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like I said,
Well, Lamar, I loved Lamar at that time as a 6'10".
could I repeat that again? Pau Gasol and Lamar Odom. Okay, he won championships
Yes, he
with
did.
those guys.
Yes, he did.
Yes.
Let's. How about Trevor Ariza? Do you forget him too?
Well, he's a good defender. He's a heck of a defender, Jared.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your point is I didn't get it. You're saying Kobe is pretty good?
Yeah. I'm saying he carried those guys on his back.
All
That's what I'm
right.
saying.
Okay. It's helpful that they got Gasol. Jerry West swindled everybody.
Yeah.
It's
they
a little
did.
early for this, but again, this GM survey, who's going to be in the finals this year? Eastern champs. Bucks 7 votes, Celtics 7, although this was before Gallinari got hurt. Miami Heat 1 vote. West champs, who gets the most votes? 8 votes from these, again, NBA
Okay, hold on.
executives, GMs, coaches. Western champs. It goes Denver 1, Warriors 3, Phoenix 3, 8 votes for
Clippers.
That's exactly right.
Because they're sitting there going, if he comes back,
Yeah.
they're going to be really good. Of course, with Paul George as well. So yeah, they have 2 of those guys if they're healthy, and how good could they be with those 2 guys?
Well, I think they could be the favorite. I agree. I mean, but that's a huge if.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about 2 guys who, for the last 5 years, have had injuries to where you can't count on them. So I
Right.
think it'd be a little tough.
If
I
he's
mean,
anything close to Kawhi, they got a great chance, but who knows?
Yeah.
you really
yeah.
want to see that. I'd love to see him back on the floor.
I'd
'cause
love
it's
to see
better
him
for the
back
game.
there, and then we'll see. But boy, I don't know. I'd count on. I'd take the Warriors over them
Yeah, I
today,
think so. You'd have
just
to.
because of you haven't seen Kawhi play. When his butt at least gets out
I
there.
don't even
on
remember the
floor.
last time we have.
Yeah, it's been. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I'm saying, we haven't seen him play since. I don't know when. When was it? A long time ago.
Yeah, they picked up John Wall, which is a good pickup, I think.
Yeah,
And so
because
so
it looks
I-
like he understands his role and he's not going
Yeah.
to try to be what he used to be. And, yeah, can't shoot though, can he? I think he's gotten a little better. But
Well, he's not a good shooter.
Yeah.
I mean, a great shooter. I mean, I think he's, he and Reggie Jackson, between the 2 of them, should get it covered. That's what I'd say. They're neither one exactly probably what you want there, but they're both.
But to get the hybrid.
But they're
Yeah.
both pretty darn good, and,
Yeah.
and you got to cover them. And I mean, I think what you don't know with John not playing for a year and how he'll be in a different role. So I would think he probably got a pretty salty message there from Houston. They didn't want him at all. So you'd think he'd go in there to do whatever Coach Lou wants him to do, and he does. And they do have an outstanding coach. I think Tyronn Lue. With the Clippers.
Yes.
So they've got it kind of covered there.
The thing I would wonder about with Wall, and you guys, I was going to say, tell me if I'm wrong, but I know I don't need to remind you to do that.
You are way off.
Some guys, especially smaller guards, they make their living with their legs. Like the guy you love so much, Isaiah Thomas, and once he got a hip injury, he wasn't quite the same. And John Wall with knee injury, a guy who was so fast. I just want, if he loses even a little bit, which happens, he's not close to the same player, right? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely right. I mean, and I think that is a concern. Now, John's big enough that it might not affect him to the same level like Isaiah Thomas, or I always go back to Tiny Archibald, had Achilles and was unguardable.
Yeah.
Was absolutely unguardable.
Right.
And then he still was able to play at a high level, but mostly as a playmaker at the end of his career.
Yeah, different role, right?
But he was so skilled and smart that he could do that, but he wasn't the same. I mean, he went from being a top 5 player in the league at worst to maybe a top 50. But he was so to answer your question, yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think small guards or small players, it affects more because their game is speed and quickness, and you lose a little, it's going to affect you.
Well, maybe he doesn't have to play as much either. Maybe he's going to be short bursts now and not have to play an entire game, so maybe that won't factor as much in. But, yeah, if his game is built on speed, and he was supposedly the fastest guy in the league at one time from end line to end line, so that's going to affect him. But if he's playing in shorter bursts, it may not affect him as much if he adapts to this new role, whatever they have him doing.
Well, I can't imagine him having anything more than a secondary role. I mean, whether he might be a starter, but it's going to be fifth guy. And so as opposed to first guy with Washington, so it's different.
Yeah,
and so
I think that might benefit him. I think that might benefit him.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I hope he accepts it because that's what he needs to do.
No votes here among these NBA executives for the Nets to win the Eastern Championship, which I understand. But I know last week Jerry explained to us, just revisiting that for a second, 2 weeks ago, was the key to the Nets thing, and you pointed this out, and we're kind of.
I remember that, Jerry.
You look at that roster, and like their centers don't overwhelm you, but the fact that Ben Simmons could play some center, that's fascinating.
It is, isn't it? It really is. I mean, there's, like we're talking about the Clippers, there's a lot of ifs.
Yeah.
Because you're counting
6'11" if, right?
Yeah. You're
if he gets
on,
off the bench.
But I think they have the talent to be a real surprise. I mean, if Simmons is ready to play, and Kyrie's ready to play, and Durant's ready to play, and Harris is back healthy, my goodness, why wouldn't they be a serious contender in the East? And I'll be surprised if they're not. I really will.
You have a starting lineup of ifs there, Jer.
Yes,
4 ifs on me. You dropped 4 ifs on me, so
but
I can't give you all the 4 ifs.
No, you shouldn't. But let me ask you this: each if is a talented if.
Very talented.
Because there's some teams got a lot of ifs, and they're really not very good ifs.
Yeah, Furlahuser or whatever the guy, Feidel has.
I forgot his name.
Fiduzel. Yeah, he's a
Fiduzel.
Sure, he knew it. Fiduzel. You must have scouted him or something. That's how you knew him. I take
a lot of them.
If all 4 of them flip the coin and they're all heads, obviously they have the upside is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, especially the Simmons guard.
Well, and I know, as you said, rightly so. I mean, because as Mr. Basketball, you've got to see them.
I've got to see
on
him.
the court.
I do, Jerry.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's fair. Because they're talking about how good they are by not playing, that doesn't mean much, does it? No, we need to see them.
Same thing we say with Kawhi. But at least Kawhi has done it a lot when he was on there. With Ben Simmons, we don't know. But, yeah, I mean, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see all your ifs happen because I think that'd be a fascinating team to watch.
Be good for the league. Be fun.
It'd be great for the league. It'd be great as far as the Eastern Conference. All of a sudden, they wouldn't get no votes anymore. See how many votes they get with all 4 of those ifs working for them.
Hey, if you were Bob Myers, you probably know Bob Myers. He's a really good guy, and he's done a great job there, right? If you're Bob Myers, you giving Draymond – I can't ask this with a straight face because I think I know what the answer is going to be.
I know too, yeah.
You giving Draymond his max extension?
We're talking Draymond Green, right?
Yeah. Now there are
Draymond
reports,
James
to
or
his
something.
credit, he hasn't come out and demanded, but there are reports. It looks like, he and his representation know that he's eligible for an extension now, and he's kind of let it be. He has an option after this year. So it looks like he set things up in such a way to suggest that if I don't get my max, I might, go to the Pistons or something like that. He hasn't demanded anything, but it looks like that's the way he and his reps are trying to set it up. And who can blame a guy for trying to get a max extension? But would you consider even giving him a max extension?
Of course not.
Would you buy his plane ticket to Detroit?
Well, first of all, Detroit's not going to either.
Yeah. Well, there
Let's
you go.
put that. No.
Even though we went to Michigan State.
Good young team coming together. They could use that veteran
Well, I
leadership.
didn't say they wouldn't like
Yeah,
him.
but for the max,
For the max,
For the
not a
max?
chance.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
No.
How about another team? I mean, LeBron is their buddies, and obviously the Lakers have some cap space issues. But
oh yeah, that team.
I'm just
Who
asking.
constructed that team anyway? The
I'm
Lakers.
just, I'm
Come
just
on,
asking the
some
question.
kid?
I agree with you. I think it looks like the Warriors, something's got to give financially for them at some point, and it looks to me like that's the most logical way you get out from under some of this.
What
But,
about Clay? I know Clay's got $40 million the last 2 years and has hardly played. Maybe he takes a little bit less. Is that a possibility?
Well, you can't do that, can you? You can't have a player go in when he already has his contract. You
no, I
can't
thought
go
he was
back.
done after the next year. I thought.
No,
he was
I
eligible.
think I have to double check that, but I
Oh, I
think
thought
he's
he was
under
one
contract
more
for the
year.
foreseeable. But Draymond has
Oh,
that
okay.
option next year. Wiggins could be a free agent, unrestricted after this year. Jordan Poole could be a restricted free agent. So they're going to have to sort their way. through
Yeah,
some
you
of
got
that.
some guys you got to.
Yeah.
You feel like you got to keep that are more important long term. And I mean, I think Draymond's worth a lot of money. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
If I'm the Warriors, I try to keep him. But max,
Yeah.
of course not. He's not a max player.
Plus, in
And
4 years, he
I
past
mean,
his.
well past his prime. I mean,
Yeah.
you'd like to keep him at a reasonable salary, whatever that is determined to be, and you're probably, as a Warriors, you'll say whatever his value is in the market in the league, we'll pay more because he's our guy, and he fits us better probably than he will most teams, and most teams know that, and so. In my answer, I don't think Bob Myers needs me. Probably Joe Lacob will remind him that
Don't ask Jerry. Yeah.
that if you're giving him a Mac contract, Bob,
Yeah.
we may be looking at a replacement in the front office.
Well,
Yeah.
let me ask you a question.
Draymond's a smart guy. He has to know that, doesn't he?
Oh, I think he does, and I think his agent does, but I don't think it hurts anything. It's
Sure.
like we can throw this out there so that if they come back with something 70% of that, we're whoa.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. That's awesome. So, I mean, can Draymond do what Draymond does with other teams? It's not that easy. You just plug in a Draymond and he makes everybody better.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't
and
yeah.
I think we saw some of that, and maybe this isn't fair to say, but on the Olympic team where he was more, and of course, he had just played a season, he was kind of going through the motions, but he's so much a part of that system. I think there's a good chance if he got somewhere else, as you pointed out, the year when Clay was hurt and Steph had been hurt and they won 15 games,
Right.
and it looked like he just, I don't want to be a part of this, but he didn't have that big of an impact other than one game against Houston. So,
It's
yeah,
easy to
he's-
facilitate better players to do better things
Yeah.
when you have them around, just like the
Yeah.
coach, right?
Especially offensively, because on
Yeah.
that team, like he can bring the ball up because they got so many great shooters. But
Right.
you put him on a different team, and offensively, he becomes a negative, doesn't he?
Well, I mean, certainly he'd fit in well with Phoenix. He'd fit in well probably with the Lakers if Davis and LeBron are healthy, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. And so he'd have a real value. But if you're saying we're going to put him on the Oklahoma City Thunder and this will really make a big difference,
Yeah.
let me. If you're looking for property, I got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. To see. So there's
You
that.
got a lot full of weeds up in Tahoe. You want to
Yes,
sell?
right.
yes,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
for
LeBron
sure.
needs to make room for his kids, so he's not going to have room for
No,
Draymond.
I mean,
Yeah.
hey, I like to say, I mean, he's a valuable player, and he's got some probably solid, productive years left. But add that up into 180, 90, $200 million. I don't believe you get there.
I thought it was really significant that he got benched in the finals, and I don't know if he had a back injury that I think may have been worse than they let on, which you could understand. Maybe with what he said about Boston and the fans got after, maybe that got to him. I can't imagine that, but maybe it did. But they had to sit him down in the finals, and then to his credit, he started playing better after that. But to me, if you're wondering, do you give Draymond an extension? Looking at what happened in the finals, like it's just not even.
It's
an
just a
option.
Draymond camp. That's the only people that are saying that.
Yeah.
he
And,
deserves that extension, and that's what
bless
they're
him.
supposed to.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
supposed to. But they'll come to some sort of agreement. They're reasonable men.
Yeah. Do you see Kuminga maybe as a guy who can be that? I know he's not defensively the same, but as a 4, maybe can Kuminga maybe become more of a Draymond than more of a 3 and a Wiggins player?
I think they're just so different. I mean, I think Kuminga's marvelous potential as a scorer, player. I mean, in today's game, I mean, you could probably play Kuminga and Wiggins together, at times, a lot of times. You wouldn't be the same, but you'd have more offensive punch and all that. So,
Kuminga, we just don't know yet what he's going to be.
we just don't know how good he's going to be. There's no reason to believe he's not going to be good. And having said all that, I mean, if I'm the Warriors, I wouldn't be scared to trade him to get exactly what, because his value, he's an asset.
Pretty
He's
high right
he's-
now,
He,
yeah.
he is a
Yeah.
terrific asset, and it may be that he is more valuable to you in another way. With what your current roster to get a specific better fit.
Speaking of trades, and you mentioned the Lakers, there's been some talk that maybe the Lakers and Jazz are talking about something involving Mike Conley. What do you
He's
think
old
of that?
enough to be on the Lakers.
Yeah,
He
and I think
presses the age requirement.
Bogdanovich, there's talk about maybe moving him, and of course the Lakers want to keep some cap space. But I love Mike Conley, but he's talking about past your.
He's as far
your-
past
your
his prime, I think,
expiration
as I
date?
probably am, Jerry.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
so. Yeah.
I mean, Mike has had a terrific career, and
Yes.
the key word there is had a
Uh-huh.
terrific career. Could he help the Lakers? Sure, but I don't know how you get him. You cap is a problem. I mean, it always comes back to, well, if you could trade Russell Westbrook,
Right.
Or
Yeah. But we can't. Yeah.
Utah would take Russell Westbrook for Bogdanovich and Conley, and why would they do that? Would be. I mean, I understand the Lakers.
yeah.
I
taught
understand-
Danny better than that,
Oh,
didn't
come
you?
on.
I didn't have to teach him much, but yeah. So I mean, I think Danny would like to probably move those guys on, and they both certainly Bogdanovich has got probably a lot of value around the league. Connolly less so, even though he's had the better career. But it's as you pointed out, he's a small guy that has probably lost a half step.
An older
they,
gentleman.
Yeah, when they got him, I thought, wow, that could be the missing piece, and that could be the guy that puts the Jazz up in championship contention. And they did have the best record in the league one year, right? But ultimately, they didn't get there. They were close. Gobert, Mitchell, Conley. Conley was hurt a lot. Didn't quite get there. And I give him credit now for recognizing Danny Ainge coming in and saying, yeah, it's this. They've gone as far as they can get.
The strange thing is to hear the Lakers talking all the time about what if we did this and what if we did that. That's kind of like a Kings thing or a poorer team sitting there going, well, what if we got this guy? What if we got Jerry? What if we got?
They're trying to
But
maximize
but the
LeBron's
Lakers,
window.
I know,
so
but
to
they're
speak,
doing
right?
it and they're changing.
No, I know, you're right.
You can't just keep changing this and changing this and it doesn't work. Go, oh, that's okay. We'll change this
But
too.
what else can they do? You're right, but what else can they do?
I don't know. It's just weird to hear the Lakers going, well, what if we got Mike Conley? Or what if we got
I
a guy
know.
who's 81 years? I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Well, here's
just, they don't usually do that.
Well, the joy to me is,
Oh, it's a great
and,
joy.
and this is very important for you guys. The
Jerry's joy.
Here's Jerry's joy is that the Lakers now sound almost like the Knicks. You know,
Yes.
you know, all
Yes.
year long, it's
Yes.
the Knicks are going to do this. The Knicks are
Yeah.
going to get him.
Yeah.
The Knicks are going to do. It's like, are you kidding me? I get so
Yeah.
sick of. I
Yeah.
mean, you got all these writers; they have nothing to do but to
Yep.
sit around and decide some fictitious kind of trade that the Knicks are going to do to.
Yeah.
and
Ben Simmons.
I
or
heard they were
get
getting Faduzel. from
Yeah.
that.
yeah. Well, they
Faduza's
might get Faduza.
I think he's untouchable, Jerry.
But now it's the same thing with the Lakers. Obviously, the last few years haven't been what you've expected for the Lakers, and they got all the national media and the local media. That's all they have to do is figure out some way. Oh, if they got this guy, they'd really be good. Yes, they would.
They keep just throwing up names. They're just
Yeah,
putting up balloons. This
it's
guy
just-
would be good. Meanwhile, the Dodgers are great and the Rams are great, and all of a sudden the Lakers are dropping
And the
a little
Clippers
bit.
and the Clippers cross
Yeah.
town.
potentially are great.
Could potentially
yeah,
are
absolutely.
great, and-
USC's
and-
coming back, and all of a sudden the Lakers are
So-
going down the totem pole.
So that's the joy for me is
Jerry's
the Lakers Lakers have become the West Coast Knicks. You just can't.
I love that. The
you
West Coast
just,
Knicks.
I hadn't
And
thought of
I
that.
mean, and what's scary is I want them to stay
Yeah.
the
West
West Coast
Coast
Knicks,
Knicks.
but I'm afraid they won't.
Well, aren't they in a way stuck with LeBron? As odd as that sounds, anyone would love
Yeah.
LeBron, but they're paying him so much, and they got Anthony Davis, and they're so committed to that. You can't tear it down, so you got to try to figure out ways to augment that. That's the situation they're in, right?
Right.
And you got limited cap space, so it's a matter of trying to figure out maybe Mike Conley, maybe
Yeah.
get to
Well, see, the
championship level again.
the
but-
thing that's a problem they have in my mind is hey, they're not like most teams, and that, but it's all about championships.
yeah.
Well, yeah,
Their bar is so high.
Yeah, I mean they can be really good at a lot of teams. League would say, "Oh boy, we're happy with this." Well, but when you got 17 banners up there,
Yeah.
and you're
But how many Pacific Division banners, Jerry?
well, probably more than 17.
Okay,
actually,
you're right. Daniel.
I don't know. I'm not a math major, but I figure that
They didn't have one. They didn't give away those banners till a
they,
couple of
they
years
just
ago.
don't
yeah.
hang them up there.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
put it that
They
way.
put them in the back.
Got it in the back somewhere. Yeah.
But so I mean, yeah, can they win 45, 48 games
Yeah.
and stuff? Probably could, but that's a failure for the Lakers. I mean, and in itself, that brings some joy,
Yeah.
even though that's
But not Jerry's joy. Jerry's joy
not
is the
total.
West Coast
Jerry
Knicks.
joy is when they are the
Yeah.
West Coast Knicks
Well-
and not in the playoffs or play in. That is
Oh,
Jerry joy.
not in the plane. That's fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
you know, they did all this to get Anthony Davis a couple years ago, and they did win a title, which for most teams, you go, we made a big move, we won
Asterisk.
a title, it works.
Yeah.
But
Bubble title,
with
asterisk.
the Lakers, it's not enough, I don't think, getting one title with Anthony Davis with your asterisk. They've got to get more, and he can't stay on the floor, and they still have LeBron and Anthony Davis, but they usually don't have him. So I think, like to your point about standards being too high, they've got to get multiple titles out of that move, and they're not getting multiple titles the way things are right now.
No, it's good. It's hard to see. I mean, and you don't ever want to. I mean, I don't bet against LeBron too much. I mean, because
He's still LeBron, yeah.
He's still LeBron, and so there may be. It's kind of like betting against Tom Brady. Well, you can if you want to.
Yeah.
He probably can't do it again, but there's.
But he needs guys around him just like LeBron does
yeah,
though now.
yeah. LeBron needs a little more help than he's had to in the past, but still. Anyway,
Your feelings of animosity towards the Lakers, did that start with everything that happened between the Kings and the Lakers, 02 around there, or does it go back to, I know you're
way back.
Yeah, because you're a Larry Bird guy, of course, and there was a big rivalry. So would you be willing to share with us how far back that Laker
yeah, it
hatred
actually did start with the Larry Bird years because I'd actually been kind of a Laker fan during Jerry West and Bill,
Really?
Bill
Okay.
Sharman and
Yeah?
Yeah,
and
60s, sure.
Gail Goodrich and
Yeah,
Happy Hairston.
Elgin Baylor.
Jim McMillan.
Jim McMillan,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, beautiful.
Flair
So
from
I'd been
Columbia.
because
Tremendous.
West and Oscar Robertson were my two
That's right.
childhood heroes. So there's that. But once it became a rivalry with obviously, and I enjoyed the Showtime Lakers. Don't get me wrong. At that time, I really enjoyed them. I liked them more than anybody except the Celtics, and so it's one of those deals. I liked them until they played the Celtics, and I didn't like them anymore. and so that's a little unusual. And then since that time, the dislike kind of multiplied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To now,
With that proximity coming from
well, and
competition, yeah.
and seeing
Yeah.
that it's not an equal thing. I mean, the Lakers. I mean, most of, basically they didn't draft Kareem, they didn't draft Wilt,
No.
they didn't draft Shaq. Basically they did some finagling to get Kobe, and all. So there's
You would have picked Kobe, right?
Jeff Petrie was going to take Kobe, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why they did what they did to move in front of us. That's exactly right. Traded Vlade Divac, an outstanding player, to get the 13th pick
Mm-hmm.
to take Kobe. And I mean, New Jersey was going to take him with the 8th or 9th pick, and they basically, his agent, Arn Tellem, I think at the time, was able to scare New Jersey. Well, he'll go play in Italy for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Doing Eli Manning on
Which
him or
he
something.
could have, because he could speak. I mean, which he would have probably done.
Yeah.
And so they took Kerry Kittles, which probably wasn't as good.
No, probably not.
I have
that's
to
just,
check.
I mean, I
Stones,
don't.
can you
Yeah,
shoot me a
Stones,
text on
yeah,
those?
yeah.
those
How many
stats I can
screen
compare?
assists does Kerry have? Yeah.
Kerry
K
had-
squared.
But anyway, they took him, and then but Jeff was ready. He said, "Well, he can go play in Italy if he wants to.
I don't care.
But we've got his draft rights, and so
Mm-hmm.
when he gets 2 or 3 years of experience over there, he'd probably be ready to come back."
That would have changed things a little bit, huh?
A
Yeah.
little bit.
So,
yeah.
so I mean, I always, I had a lot of respect for Jeff. I mean, I know that was a fact
Wow.
of how it was, and that's why they did what they did. And so that's another reason,
Right.
Yeah.
just one more
Just
reason.
builds it on it. Yeah.
One more reason.
I know we have, what is it, Reynolds Rolodex coming
Reynolds
up here?
Rolodex
Just a
coming
second.
up. Yes, absolutely.
Before we get to that, with the legendary basketball minds here, I want to just real quickly go over some of the names going into the Hall of Fame this weekend. It's Hall of Fame weekend.
Oh.
And just see if anything comes to mind with this class. We got, and just jump in at any point here if you have anything to add to Hugh Evans getting in 28 seasons as an
referee,
NBA
yeah.
referee.
Yeah.
Ever throw you out of a game?
No.
All right, okay.
No, I like you. Good referee.
Yeah, Manu Ginobili going to the Hall of Fame.
A fine player, I believe, Hall of Fame worthy. What a great winner! What a great team player.
Yep. I agree with
Basically
that.
it, yeah.
Yep.
Tim Hardaway.
I agree. Should have been in there already.
Yeah. By the way, we talked about Dallas and how they didn't do a lot, but they're getting his kid back, right? Because he was hurt last year. They're getting Hardaway Senior back.
Yeah.
If he
So
can
that's
stay healthy, he's a good player.
Yeah,
But
he
he's
can
having some
score.
trouble. Yeah.
Another shooter.
Bob Huggins, George Carl. Bob Huggins, by the
Bob
way,
Huggins, college-
gonna be,
college
I think,
coach, yeah.
presented by Jerry West.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with West Virginia.
West Virginia
guy,
guy.
yeah.
May have. I know he played at West Virginia, and of course now coaches there, but had great success at Kansas State and Cincinnati,
yeah.
and somewhere in I think Malone College in Ohio.
Oh, Malone College.
Let's
They're
see.
the
Walsh,
Troubadours, I
Akron,
think.
Cincinnati, Kansas State, West Virginia.
Walsh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. George Carl reached the playoffs 22 times with 5 different franchises. When he got to the Kings, he was just done. And I think he
Yeah, I think
lost
he's
that
definitely-
power struggle over DeMarcus, and that was it.
Well, I think too, he'd had a lot of serious health issues.
Yes,
and,
yes.
and so he wasn't the same George Carl, but George deserves to be in there. Absolutely.
As a coach, and then he's also a player, ABA. Remember back in the
ABA
day?
and
Cougars,
University of North
Yeah,
Carolina.
great player.
Yeah. Women's committee selection, Swin Cash.
Oh, great player.
Marianne Stanley, Lindsay Whalen.
Yeah.
Check.
Yeah.
Yep. Check.
Teresa Shank Grentz. That's a shank. She shanked you. I think it's just no.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe we don't go with that.
And your good friend, seriously, Del Harris.
Yeah,
Del
well,
Harris.
he deserves it. I think really one of the more underrated coaches in history. Here's a guy who had great success as a high school coach, great success as a
Has
small
coached at
college
multiple
coach.
levels, Jerry, for more than 50 years.
50 years.
Yeah, and written probably some of the best books. If anybody wants to really get a coaching book, go back
Really?
through some of Del Harris's stuff. I mean, there's probably no more, almost to the wooden level as far as knowledge and breaking things down.
Wow.
Now Del would wear you out a little bit. Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong.
you like to talk hoops?
He would talk some hoops with you. He's worse than me. And, I know you're thinking that. I knew
No,
what
I
you
love-
You give it a break
Yeah.
once in a while.
Well, I do
You
once
go
in a
by the
while.
pool and stuff,
Yeah,
and then come
yeah.
back.
And one
Sure.
of the Perlman books, he says that Del Harris would just go on and on, and the players are just like, "Oh my goodness,
Enough already.
Yeah.
enough already.
But he really, he definitely belongs in there.
Led the Rockets to the NBA Finals in '81. 14 seasons coached the Rockets, Bucks, Lakers, who's 556 and 457.
Yeah,
Excellent.
had
Yeah.
coach of the year in Milwaukee. Had a 50-win team, I think, with the Lakers, and that's with Eldon Campbell and
Oh yeah,
the Eldon Campbell
and Eddie
years?
Jones
Yeah.
powerhouse.
Oh,
So
I liked Eddie Jones.
yeah, they do.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's pretty good.
That's 50 wins with that. Yeah,
Radovoj Korac.
I overrated a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. 24 points a game in the '68 Olympics.
Yeah.
That led Yugoslavia
Yeah.
to the silver
Yeah.
medal.
Like, who didn't?
And-
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spencer
And
Haywood crushed it.
direct elect committee selection, Sweet Lou Hudson.
Oh,
And I have to be honest with you, Mr. Basketball.
Oh, man.
When I saw that, I remember Lou Hudson, and not that we want to spend a lot of time on it because I don't know how well remembered he is. I thought Lou Hudson was an excellent player, and it turns out 20.2 points a game, 13 seasons,
Yeah.
6-time All-Star. I remember interviewing him once. Love Lou Hudson. To me, it's like, I just don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, it's a close call for me.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about that driving over, or actually riding over.
Yeah, he picked you up. How's the car condition?
Very good.
Oh,
He's
so
very
he's
good.
worked on it.
Mrs. Gleason
Yeah.
probably was out there cleaning it up.
And that 1 week that they were off, yeah, that's what they were really
Yeah.
doing. Yeah,
Yeah,
Going
but
through the
anyway.
quick quack car wash a couple times.
But anyway, yeah.
I didn't want to put you. I know you said I don't want to put you on the spot about that on Lou Hudson, but yeah,
But that's
he's a
kind of
great
what
player,
veterans.
but-
That's in a way the Veterans Committee kind of lower the bar. I don't want to say that really because he's a great player. I mean, 20 points a game.
Well,
but
and
that's kind of what the
six-time All-Star.
Yeah.
I mean, and
Well, I mean, you talk about Hardaway's a 5-time All-Star.
Yeah,
I think so.
no,
I mean,
yeah,
you can
no,
make-
I mean, you can. I mean, well, I'd say that, and I did say this is he's clearly better than a bunch of guys in there.
there you go.
So now,
works
in
for
my
me.
mind, does he deserve it more than say Mark Price or Kevin Johnson? I don't know that he does,
Right.
but maybe they'll get in there.
Okay,
someday.
yeah.
He's no Fadoozle. I think we
He
can
is
agree.
He
no
was in the
Fadoozle.
backcourt with
And-
Peter right? With
yeah,
the
he's-
Hawks. I mean,
yes, yeah.
Was he a 2 or was he more of a 3?
He is a
Kind of-
2-3,
yeah, kind of a
both.
swing man,
Yeah,
about 6'5".
Really didn't have a lot of handling skills, but he was in the days of the shooting guard. He was
knocked
a
it
shooting.
down, yeah.
He was kind of a better version of Del Curry.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Yeah, he played with Eddie Mast, right? I think on the Hawks, weren't they? Wasn't Eddie?
Eddie Mast, I don't know.
You don't know Eddie Mast?
I know
Wow.
the name, but I
Oh,
don't
okay.
remember him playing. I saw the
Way to
Hawks.
bring the important stuff to the table there, Gleason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
name
Eddie
that
Mass
popped in.
talk, Jerry. I didn't
You
know
never know.
I didn't know we were going to do the Eddie
I
Mass
did
stuff
not
today.
You
either.
mention
Yeah.
a name
Yeah.
like that, and
Yeah.
often
Yeah.
Jerry's like, "Oh yes, I saw him," and it's rare that
And
you
if
get
you
a
come
high-
out with a guy that he doesn't,
I know,
whose
that's on
fault
me.
is that? Really,
That's on me.
That's on you.
That's on me.
Eddie Mast. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a woo from Larry
Yeah.
Reynolds, the new
Do you
guy.
want to? I know Stones was nice enough to find some of his old basketball cards.
I,
This is
uh,
actually something your son wanted us to do, right?
Yeah, Kyle thinks that we should just go ahead and give at least once a show, just come up with a random player from history and just ask Jerry if he has a story about him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a very good idea, but maybe we limit it to Kings for right now because Stones has this group
Watch it
scrapbook,
because that's a very valuable collection of
It's-
1990.
a binder of
cards.
basketball cards. Yes, the great Willie Anderson is on this. Of course, Ralph Sampson and oh my God, that's a Spur. But I was thinking, my eye went right to a very fluid player from back in the day. Was wondering if you
Eddie
had.
Mast, 1972 Atlanta Hawks. There you go.
Okay.
Averaged 10 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Yes, so of course we're supposed to know about him because he averaged 10 minutes a game during one season.
he didn't-
literally 50 years ago.
He
He,
didn't
averaged
have the
10
impact
minutes.
I thought. He played 2
Well-
years in the NBA. He didn't have the impact I thought.
Here's what I say about Eddie Mast, and I'll move on here.
Thank you, Jerry.
The coach at that time was Richie Guerin, and I didn't
love
have a
Richie
relationship with
Guerin.
Richie Guerin. Cotton Fitzsimmons came later.
Yeah.
And by that time, Eddie Mast was gone.
There you go.
There you
Okay.
go.
But
Yeah.
not forgotten.
Yeah.
Well, no,
He-
forgotten.
I forgot.
And forgotten by me.
Anyway, Jerry, as we go through the Reynolds
Yeah.
Rolodex, the first edition, Kings, this is a guy who is very fluid and I think epitomizes a lot of what's good about basketball. You have some
We can show that
knowledge
there
of him.
and-
That is, do you have any reminiscences at all about Mr. Greg Kite?
I do. Really, I'll say this. Now, if we had screen assists,
There you go. Yes. How pertinent to today's topic is this? Yes.
Greg would have been good at screen assist. 'Cause,
Especially,
I mean,
especially per minute, because he didn't really see a lot of screen time.
didn't see a lot of time,
No.
but had been on the championship team
good
with the
teams,
Celtics.
yeah.
Didn't play a lot, but certainly was on a championship team. The Kings got him as part of, I can't remember what kind of deal it was, if any, but we got Greg.
good one, I'll tell you
and,
that.
And, he's basically a backup center for us, but was a terrific screener. Now, as an offensive player, he had some limitations, being that his area of efficiency was outside of 3 foot.
Yeah.
Just really wasn't.
You really say, no, don't venture out there.
At this point, Jared, NBA career scoring average at this point, 2.3 points per game.
Yeah,
That's a hoop. He got
I had
himself a hoop every game.
I developed a rule actually because of Greg Kite.
The kite rule.
I called it the kite rule.
That's very clever.
Because I always remember we were playing somebody, I don't remember who it was, and Greg was open at the top of the key, or about an 18-footer.
There you go.
For top past the free throw line and wide open.
Did you tell him, knock it down, Greg?
Anyway, he shot it. Was not able to connect.
He didn't
Convert,
convert
yeah.
that. No,
But
no.
The next time down the floor,
Yeah.
he was open again.
Whoa.
And
That's
he
a
shot
flaw-
it again.
A flaw in the defense.
So as as want would have it, I took a timeout. And
Did you take a 20 or just a full? Did you
Oh, I thought, I can't remember, but I think it's a full because I really needed to have a discussion
with
And,
Mr. Kite?
And well, really a nice man, and he certainly could have just squeezed my head off
Yeah,
if he wanted
yeah.
to. But he was a gentleman. But I said, Greg, what? I won't say exact words, but what?
This is what it looked like.
Yeah,
I think,
Pretty
when-
much, pretty much.
Greg.
Yeah, I'd say, maybe a little more of a confrontational look.
Yeah,
at
a
it.
little
Slightly more.
scowl-ish. Yeah,
But I said, Greg, what are you doing? And in some other words in there.
Sure,
and Greg
absolutely.
was, he didn't use bad language, so to his credit. He said, well, Coach, he said, I was open. I said, of course you were. I said, Greg, that is their strategy. You're going to be open all the time.
Every time.
Every time. We can get you open at the top of the key.
We can
I
get a
guarantee
great
you.
Kite 18-footer whenever we want one.
And then, but I mean, this guy said, "Oh, yeah."
Well, good for him.
So you really educated him on that.
Well,
He
I
really
think
thought
we did.
He
I
thought
think
your
we did.
play.
And then he went into shortly thereafter, I think, for the rest of his career with the Kings. It wasn't very long, but into the screen assist mode.
Oh, right.
Really?
So you turned
even
him-
though he'd be
yes.
open, he'd give the ball up and go.
See, the term I would use to describe him based on the story you just told is coachable.
Oh, he was coachable.
No, absolutely
I mean,
coachable.
he was a terrific teammate. Really did understand his role, and I mean, he had a limited career, but basically did because he could do.
Right.
He could rebound on the defensive board. He
Yeah.
could set great screens, and he knew that's what he could do.
Was he
and he had that momentary lapse
Uh-huh.
where probably for just a brief instant
Yeah.
of his career, he said, "I think I can score."
Well,
Yeah.
luckily he had you there
And I was
to
there
kind
to
of put him back on track.
to get him back into screen assist mode.
But you didn't even know that was a thing.
Well, no, but I knew what it was we were doing wasn't a thing either.
That wasn't the thing. Yeah.
So we got anyway, and so I thought, well, anyway, and I think he played for the Spurs or the Clippers for a little while after that as well.
Yeah, he was in there a long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
To
yeah.
me, he strikes me as a type of player that you tell me if I'm wrong. I don't need to say that.
No, you don't, because he will.
And the Kings were bad teams do this sometimes. They'll get a guy who had played on some really good teams, thinking, he's got that championship pedigree. And then you get the guy, and then you realize he had nothing to do with
Yeah,
it. I
no.
mean, not that he was a bad player,
just on
but
the team.
the
Yeah,
Celtics won a lot of games, and he had very little to do with it, right? So bad teams think, we'll get some of that, and then you realize, nope, we don't get it.
Well, yeah, it's like whether Rick Carlisle is a player for the Celtics or Greg or
Yeah,
several
nothing
other
against
guys,
them,
and nothing
yeah.
against them. I mean, they were legit NBA players, but if they were starting players for the Celtics, they would not have been the championship team.
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
knew that.
Yeah.
and they knew that, and I always say we had Danny Ainge at the same time, and Danny liked Greg because they played together in I think some in college at BYU.
Yeah.
and
That's
and,
why he never swore, right?
But Danny, of course, Danny loved getting him because he knew, hey, I can get more shots
Yeah,
because
he's a screen assist guy.
he's a
yeah.
screen assist
yeah,
guy.
Exactly.
6'11", 250.
Oh, he's bigger than that. I guarantee.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
he might have been 250 when he was in 8th grade. He was.
I bet he got a lot of screen assists in
he
8th
was
grade. Yeah.
275, 280.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about. That was the screen. I mean, he would.
He's a big fella.
Big fella.
Big fella.
I mean,
well, thank you, Jer.
Yeah, well, so that's
Reynolds Rolodex.
Yeah.
Greg Kite.
Do that
Our first guest.
Do that again next time?
I think we do it, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything further, Father?
I think we're good.
Yeah.
I think we.
I think we're good. I mean, we did take a week off. It took us a while to get our legs back, and I think
And
we're
we
all right.
didn't pick on what.
Well, we can't for a while because he's got his people out there.
I
That
know,
They're going
God,
to start complaining to
my own
Stones.
family turn on me.
Yeah.
It's like a
Leave Waddy alone. Leave Waddy alone.
I appreciate it.
really
I appreciate it. I really
kinda
do.
hurts the show that we can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. See you next week on the Old Fashioned 3.
Thank you for joining the Old Fashioned 3 on Stones Radio Networks. To stay updated on the show, like and subscribe on YouTube, and all shows are available for download on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, and of course at stonesradionetworks.com. Follow the show and the gents on Twitter at OL, Fashioned, and the number 3, at Phantom Radio 60, and at Whitey Gleason. This has been a production of Stones Radio Networks.